the man who was the first baseman for the New York Yankees that day, and then eventually the second baseman in the restart of the game. He's none other than current Miami Marlins manager Don Mattingly. How are you, Don?
Good, Rich. How are you doing?
Can you believe it's been 35 years since that day?
I can't. Time is definitely marching on, that's for sure. It seems like it's yesterday, really, honestly, that day in Yankee Stadium.
What's your recollection? Walk me through your perspective when Brett came to bat that day.
I guess my clearest memory is Billy had noticed, maybe a day before or 2 days before that George had the pine tar way up the bat. And nowadays it's okay, but then you couldn't do it. And he was just waiting for the right time. And as soon as that George hit the homer, here comes Billy looking at the bat. I think it was Tim McClellan behind the plate. He puts it across the plate. It was too high, and he calls him out. And then George doing the swim move coming out of the dugout with his arms flailing. And I think Billy just enjoyed that so much, being able to pull that off. That's probably my best memory of it.
So did you know that when Billy was coming out of the dugout after that, like, oh my gosh, he's going to actually try and get this thing overturned? Did you?
Yeah, I think we pretty much all knew. I think Greg, either Billy or I think maybe even Greg Nettles had noticed it, and they'd talked about it. And then when he came out, you pretty much knew what was happening.
So what happened next from you must have had a really good view of George Brett coming out of the dugout, right, Don?
Oh, yeah. From there, it's, kind of chaos. And you remember a couple of things. All of a sudden, somebody's running up the runway, the tunnel with the bat.
Gaylord Perry, Hall of Famer Gaylord Perry took the bat.
I didn't know who did it, but they took the bat and were running up, and people were chasing for the bat and all kinds of things like that. It was just kind of chaos after that. And, from there, the game's over, and we find out later that we got to replay it.
So before we get to that part, Don Mattingly, Marlins manager, here on the 35th anniversary of the famed Pine Tar game, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. What was it like in the clubhouse afterwards?
Just pretty, just exciting. You end up winning the game. But, the talk of obviously was what had happened and how it happened. And I don't remember a whole lot about exactly the way it went in the clubhouse, but it was just pretty much the talk of the clubhouse that day.
I bet. And Billy, as you said, was just like the cat ate the canary, huh? Billy Martin?
Exactly. And, Billy always was looking to get an edge somehow, some way. One of those guys who knew the rule book in and out, and it was, exactly what you said. It was like, Billy was the cat that ate the canary.
I bet. And so then when you found out you had to replay it, what was your recollection of that day when you were told to get to second base, Don?
Kind of fun, actually. It's like you're back to kid days. You needed one out. And I think Guidry's in center. He put Guidry in center. I'm not sure the reasons for all this, because I'm sure there were certain guys you couldn't use, because you had to go back, I guess, and figure out who was in the lineup, who came out of the lineup that day. Maybe guys weren't even on your roster. I'm not sure of all the rules with that day, but I just know that it was a little different, playing second base for one out. And I just remember Gator in center.
Yeah, I think you are the first left-handed second baseman to have played at that position in a long time. And then I think you're the only one since, Don, to be very honest with you.
Cool. That's probably where Lou got the idea of throwing me over at third. That he figured if you could do that, you could go to third, too.
Yeah, Piniella, huh, from back in the day? Do you have any recollections of the way Steinbrenner handled this situation, Don?
I don't remember any of that, but I was pretty young. I think obviously it was my rookie year, and so then you probably didn't have. Probably some of the older guys had a better handle on that, but I didn't have any idea what was going on with that.
But I guess you must have gotten a heck of a, welcome to New York City baseball, right? Yeah. Is that your rookie season?
For sure. Anything with Billy. New York was probably enough for me right there, and just being in the big leagues, but. definitely your first year, Billy the manager, you definitely see a different side of things compared to minor league baseball.
So have you ever had any conversations with George Brett about this since then, Don?
No, I had conversations with George, maybe had a few cocktails now and then, but
Right.
I don't remember us really talking about that. Probably talking about anything other than that.
And McClellan at all? Because obviously he retired just a few years ago, but he was in Major League Baseball till 2013.
No real conversations about it from there. I also know, I remember that day, I think there was, I don't know if it was the same umpires or maybe different, and there was some type of, I'd heard there was some type of deal where we were going to challenge every base, that he touched every base, and those umpires weren't there, but there was some kind of affidavit or something that he had touched every base, leading into that game.
Yeah, Steinbrenner was going to sue him. And Billy Martin, that's exactly what happened, is that they had the umpires from the original day sign an affidavit to say that George Brett did, in fact, touch every base, because I guess that was the way that everything started with the restart, was an appeal play at almost every base, Don.
I don't remember that, but I knew there was something with it.
Oh, my gosh.
That, again, typical Billy, probably typical George at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember, though, being a kid, a teenager, a Yankee fan, diehard. I was pissed that Quisenberry was allowed to close you guys out that day, because he was on the disabled list 35 years ago today.
I didn't know that. But I do remember that I think I had like a 15-game hitting streak going into that game. I didn't get a hit that day, and so it went back, and I would have had like a 26 or something like that. If I would have gotten that hit that day, it would have extended it to 26.
So but you didn't get an at. Did you get an at bat in the bottom of the ninth?
I did.
Against Quisenberry, right?
Yeah, not sure. I'm sure I grounded out somewhere.
He was. I love this sort of stuff, man. I mean, this is just. I couldn't even imagine with 24/7 coverage and Twitter and social media what this would have been like. If this had happened today.
Yeah, it would have definitely been a different thing with social media for sure. Sure, that would have. Definitely would have trended, right?
I definitely think it would have trended. That is for darn sure. Before I let you go, I know you got a game. What can you tell fans in South Florida about the state of the Marlins with Jeter in the front office, and all the conversation about the roster and what was done in the offseason and how you guys are trying to compete? What would you give me an update on this situation, Don?
Oh, if I was talking to the fans of South Florida, I'd definitely say, we're in a great spot. I think what Derek and the new ownership have put in place here is something that's going to be sustainable. And what we were doing in the winter, it had to be done. And you hate to say it like that, because we let some really good players go, but we've got some really good players back. Derek talks about building this thing from the bottom up, being totally professional, running this organization as a professional, players playing the game that way. We're in a good spot right now. I think we probably exceeded expectations. I think everybody thought we were going to lose 120 games or something, but we've been really competitive. The guys have played extremely hard. It's one of the things Derek talks about, is we're going to be in a competitive environment where, you're always need to show who you are and keep playing, because there's going to be guys coming. And we want to build this thing, from that standpoint, where it's a competitive environment, where guys know they have to perform, or there's somebody else coming.
Have you used I know Steinbrenner always liked having football mentality in his managers. Have you used, I guess, the typical football, nobody expects us to do anything? Have you used that with your players at any point this season, Don?
I definitely didn't have to. I think with all the talk, going into spring training, and I think teams looked at it again like we were going to be a doormat, like it was going to be a circus. And our guys have came out. We prepared the way we would if we were right on the verge of winning a championship. The way you have to. We have to. We've looked at it as a teaching environment, a development environment where we got to continue to get better. We got to prepare to play every day. We got to play good baseball, make good baseball decisions as you're playing the game. I think our guys have been great. They've played extremely hard, and to be honest with you, we're playing really well.
What do you think Steinbrenner would have thought that you'd be managing for a team that Derek Jeter was part of an ownership group? What do you think he would have thought about that?
I think he would have liked us both to be in New York in some way, shape, or form. George is very loyal to his players and the people that had success in New York. But I think, I look at it a lot like Yogi. You gotta go and make your own path and create your own environment. But what Derek's doing, I think, is there's a lot of Yankee involved with what we're doing. What we're doing in the minor leagues, the professionalism we want guys to play with, how we expect them to work and prepare. There's a lot of New York down here.
Well, I mean, and I'm just wondering if it's interesting at all to you, if it's lost to you. I mean, your last season with the Yankees, he was getting a cup of coffee, getting his toe wet in a playoff series with you against the Seattle Mariners. I mean, do you ever look at Jeter and go, "My gosh, that's my boss"? Ever?
It's a little different starting out with that, but I have so much respect for Derek and the way he played the game, the way he handled himself. And I got to see, I feel like I've seen this thing from the very beginning, from the first year that he signs, he plays rookie ball, but the next year he's in big league camp every year. So I watched his pretty much whole development, kind of from one spring to the next, then all of a sudden he's getting up for a cup of coffee and back, and then he's back up, and you could just see him getting better and better. And it's a lot of fun working for Derek because he expects a lot, and the way it should be, right? He knows the game. When you talk to him about what's going on with our players, he sees it. There's no doubt that he's watching every game and what's going on with this, and he expects us to play the game the right way and play hard. And it's been a lot of fun working for him.
And, I don't know, to wrap this up, how to ask this question, but I'll ask it anyway, because you saw me on the field in Los Angeles when you were the manager there, and my wife was pregnant at the time. And I told you what the middle name of my child was going to be, and she's now 4 or turning 5. You know what her middle name is, Don, right? Do you remember
I do. And honored, Rich, I'm telling you, there's been a few little girls, little Mattinglys, and it started off with a lot of dogs and cats. Now, I've got some kids out there, and it's always an honor that someone would think enough of you to put your name within your family, and it really is something that I'm always kind of caught off guard and taken back with and very proud of.
Well, I just only wish that there could have been some sort of camera device inserted into the baby announcements that were sent to my in-laws, who are all Red Sox fans, when they opened up that baby announcement. That'd have been great.
That would have been great.
I know. Unfortunately, we don't have it. But her and just to, I guess, bring it all full circle, we did name her. My wife had no idea that this is the name of your son, I believe. Her first name is Taylor. Don.
Oh, perfect. My first son. Yeah.
Exact. Taylor Mattingly Eisen. TME is her initials, Too Much Eisen, which is what she is already, to be very honest with you.
I can believe that.
MattinglyCharities.org, right? Is those are your charities? That's your charitable function? What can you tell me about that as we wrap up our chat here, Don?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you giving me that opportunity. It's something we've done. We're working. We started an RBI program first, and it's something I've always felt like the inner city kids, I wanted to give them the opportunity to play and be taught the game. We've expanded into education and reading programs in my hometown in Evansville. Working definitely with the underserved kids. We want to give those kids opportunity that there's a world out there for them, and about making good decisions and good choices, but give them the opportunity to be involved with some things and be involved with people that are going to give them that shot and open their eyes to the whole world, and that anything can be accomplished through work, through education, through the right attitude. And I appreciate you giving me that chance to talk about it.
Absolutely, Don. That's the least I can do. MattinglyCharities.org to learn more. And the Mattingly Charities is the Instagram, and Mattingly Charity is on Facebook. It's great to chat with you as always, Don. Thanks for strolling down Pine Tar Memory Lane with us here today.
Thanks, Rich. It's always good to talk to you.
You bet. Marlins manager Donald Arthur Mattingly, as all of us from back in the Yankee days would say. here on The Rich Eisen Show.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.